Okay, so when we have that day, we look up what day, July 5th, that was day 182. We add up the interval to the next listing, 124.9.4, we add them together. We get 311.4 days. Then you look up in the day of the year, that day of 311.4 is November 7th. November 7th is the progressed constant date for a midnight chart. If it was noon, you'd be looking up 494, is May 9th would be the progressed constant date. Okay, so the ephemeris that you're downloading from Astrodienst or from Astro.com are all done for midnight. So midnight is 0 hours, the beginning of the day, 0 a.m., the beginning of the day. Okay, sample 3, Shanghai, okay, July 23rd. It's the same no matter where you are in the world. You have the time standard, Central Chinese time. It's 120 degrees east exactly. It's 8 hours away from Greenwich. But Shanghai to Beijing is almost like Montreal to Toronto. Like there's this difference away when Beijing's a little closer. But here's the time standard, and Shanghai is just 121 degrees away east of that. So you subtract them, you get 128, which is 1.5, which becomes 4 plus 2, 6 minutes of time. So it's 6 minutes difference. So the time was 4:29. They didn't use, the only rare times that they use Greenwich Mean Daylight Saving Time in China for a few years, but it hasn't been for a long time, and only in certain places. So 4:29 p.m. plus 6 hours, plus 6 minutes. 4:29 would be 4:35. Will be the local mean time. But when you're going to Greenwich, you're going from the other way. Like here, from this time standard, it's 8 hours to Greenwich, but it's another 6 minutes. So you add the 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 8 hours and 6 minutes to Greenwich. China is funny because the whole country, which goes across 3 or 4 time standards, all uses the same Chinese standard time. And so some places, the time on the clock is 2 or 3 hours off the local mean time can be 4 or 5 hours away from the actual time. If you're in the Himalayas or in the mountains, it can be really off, but they're still using the same time as in Beijing. So, okay, trivia. So we have our local mean time, 4:35 a.m. The time in England, we add the 8:06 to it, and we end up with, we have to subtract it because Shanghai is ahead. The sun will rise in Shanghai before it gets to Europe. So you're subtracting the hours to get to Greenwich. So 4:35 a.m. on July 23rd, the ephemeris would actually be July 22nd at 8:29 or 20:29. So for midnight ephemeris, the next listing would be midnight 23rd. So 2360 subtracted, 3 hours and 31 minutes to the next midnight. See, midnight. So it's funny. We're going to midnight July 23rd because of GMT. Not the LMT is already in the 23rd, but GMT wasn't. So we're still going to the GMT at the beginning of that day. It's the next GMT. So that's 3 hours and 31 minutes. If it was a noon GMT, you'd be going to the next day and it would be 24 hours for one day and add another 12. You end up with 36 hours and subtract your 2029. You end up with 15 hours and 31 minutes to the next listing. From that, so 3 hours and 31 minutes to the nearest midnight noon. That's 45 days, 7.9 days, 53.6 days is how much time to the next ephemeris listing. And if it was a noon chart, you'd have 15 hours, 31 minutes, would be 236.2 days to the next ephemeris listing. So once you have the next ephemeris listing, you just have to find out then you're going to your local mean time, not the Greenwich mean. You're going to your local mean time, and you see what day that is. Why is this? No, we're looking at the GMT. We're looking at, on the GMT is the 22nd. We did the, what happened here? 8 a.m. Yes, it's still, the GMT for that is still 22nd, 203, and 53.6 days to the next listing and progress days. You add them together, you get day 256.9 days. You look up that day, September 13th is the progressive constant date. If there was an error in here ever, it'd be this little thing is one day, it would be 1 day out, but it's not enough to make a big difference in how you're going to work with the ephemeris. But September 13th is here. And okay. Sample 4 is a Germany example from Germany. It's 10:28 a.m. Central European Time, Wiesbaden. Okay. So here, Wiesbaden is west. The time standard is 8 degrees. Wiesbaden is 8:14 east. So it's west. 8:14 is west of 15 degrees east. That's a little head trip. But just if it's 16, it's west. It's east of it. It's further east. But here, 8 is not as far east as 15 east. So it's west of east. So you're going to be 27 minutes. It's like 6 degrees, 46 minutes, 6.75, which would mean 6 is 24 plus 3 minutes. So 27 minutes earlier to get your local mean time. You subtract the 27 minutes to get your local mean time. So to get the interval Lagrange mean time is going to be 33 minutes the other way. It's what's left of that. It's cut into it. So the local mean time is 10:01. The GMT is 9:28. It's just 33 minutes difference. It's not even an hour. The time standard would be an hour difference, but here it's less than that. So to the next ephemeris, it's 9:28 on July 31st. So you're going to be looking at the next midnight will be August 1st. So we put July 31st, 2360, subtract it. We got the 1432. To the next 14 hours, 32 minutes to the next noon on July 31st. So it's the ephemeris listing on July 31st is what the progressive constant date will be for. And if it was a noon ephemeris, you'd be going to the same day, just to the next noon, 2 hours and 32 minutes. So when we take that 1432, we convert it to hours, and to the hours and minutes to days, we have 221.2 days to the next progress listing. If it was a noon, it would be 232, it would be 38.5 days. So let's just stay with the midnight examples. So the day number, your birthday, July 31st, 212. Time to the next progression, 221.2. You add these together, you get 433.2. Look up that day, it's March 8th. March 8th is the progress constant date for a midnight ephemeris. Next example, Toronto, August 25th. We've done a few examples of Toronto. So it's 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So if it's daylight time, take off the hour right away. Well, okay, now, again, it's Toronto, so it's minus, it's got that 18 minutes away from the time standard. So it becomes the time standard, Toronto, 5 o'clock would end up being 4:42. 3:44, 4 o'clock is daily saving time, 5:42. And in England, that would go over to be 21 hours. You add the 5 hours and 18 minutes. So, okay, then you get that difference. How many hours and minutes to the next? That's the Greenwich Mean Time of birth. How many hours to next midnight? 3 hours. You take the 3 hours, 45.7 days, 0 days, 45.7 days. That's the number of days to the next midnight listing. When you get your birthday, August 25th, 437, add the 45.7, you end up 282. You look up that day, you'll see it's October 9th, and that's the progress constant date. So each of these are going to get a progressed constant date. But once you have the progressed constant, then you have to think just after my birth, the next listing after my birth will be that date for it'll be either your year or the next year, just whichever comes first or that date comes first. That's going to be the ephemeris listing. So, okay, July 25th, Toronto, 5:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 4:07 a.m. minus 18 minutes, 4:07 is going to come down to 3:49 local mean time, but the GMT is 9:07. Okay, so we're getting local mean time and GMT. Okay, that's the puzzle here. Once we have that, we have our fixed date, our time of birth. This is the time in England, and we see how long that is to the next midnight. Is going to be next midnight will be the 26th. So we'll put 27, 25th, 2360, like 24 hours. Subtract it, we're in the 14th at 53 on July 25th. So that's 14 hours and 53 minutes to the next Here's GMT. This one say, I'm sorry, Mercury retrograde.